Hear me okay? You can see me okay? I think we should be good. We are live right now on. We are live right now on excuse me, YouTube, Twitter. We are live also on Instagram for the first time. I don't know when it happened, but they actually allowed me to get my what the heck? What is going on with my get right? Come on. Come on, Mike. Get right. Get right. Get right. There we go. Hopefully we're good now. We are live for the first time in like forever on IG. They banned me from going live on IG during the elections, and I was not made aware of the ban until I tried to go live. So somebody invited me to go live. I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Yep, made a liar out of me because I couldn't go live, and I didn't know. They didn't even give me a warning. They didn't tell me why. So we are live for the first time in like ever, in like a year on IG. So excited about that. Shout out to all my IG people. Shout out to all my YouTube people. We're gonna do a few shout outs. We're gonna get this show on the road. We got an exciting show for you guys today. You guys can't see it, but I got my Flamengo shirt on for all my main gang people. It's my favorite Brazilian soccer team. We just got another cup. I know it's like it's a lot of winning going on over here. So it's for those of you who don't know, I like soccer. I love soccer. I play soccer. I actually coach and train in soccer. So yeah, excited about that. So I had to bring my new out. Y'all can't see it, but it's my Zico throwback midfielder. Today we're going to be talking about Elon Musk and his overt apartheid sympathizing. Like the mask has basically completely come off from Elon Musk. I don't know what's going on with this man. I actually said in the beginning that being a fun billionaire who buys Twitter, he ain't really buy it because like I told people it was a hostile takeover and the government helped him do it. And nobody really wanted to hear that. None of his people wanted to hear that. And I'm like, nah, when billionaires of that class make a purchase that significant, especially whenever that board was not trying to sell, it's because the government wants some control over what's happening in that department. And that's exactly what that was. Now, I said that being a fun billionaire who gets to toot his own horn and seek all the attention in the world that he wants while, just not having any real responsibility is completely different than politics. I said politics is going to break that, man. It's not the same thing. And we're watching it happen in real time. We're also going to be talking about this Super Bowl commercial, the Super Bowl ad that just came out with Snoop Dogg and Tom Brady. And I'm not going to lie, man, y'all know I'm a big Tom Brady fan, so it broke my heart, but it's some Zionist bullshit, and we got to discuss it because it just makes no sense. Commercial don't make no sense. We're also going to be talking about Ukraine losing $100 billion. Or I don't know if they lost it. I don't know if Zelensky is actually just snitching on the Biden administration. We're going to get into that. I got my theories about that. And we're also going to be talking about Marco Rubio and the fact that this recent interview with Megyn Kelly makes it seem like he's been replaced with a body double. That and a few of the pounds that he has put on last year. But in all seriousness, he did an interview with Megyn Kelly recently. And I was surprised at the questions that Megyn Kelly asked, but also I was even more surprised at the responses from Marco Rubio. And to make a long story short, we're going to go into it. It's a long interview, so we're just going to talk about parts of it. But to make a long story short, it made it seem like Marco Rubio and Donald Trump, based off of what's taken place so far, are actually not on the same page. And Trump's actions and rhetoric lately make Marco Rubio seem sane, incoherent, and thoughtful and considerate, and even, dare I say, diplomatic by comparison. So we're going to talk about all of that today. Thank you all for tuning in. Much appreciated. Let's talk about the Ukraine situation first. I need to cool down, y'all. I just recorded for Hotspot. Shout out to my Hotspot fam. We actually just added a new guy. I'm not going to ruin it for y'all. I'm going to post this stuff later. But we added a new content creator hotspot. It's going to be dope. Can't wait to announce it. But we're going to check out this hotspot video I did discussing the Ukraine situation, the recent developments, and then we will take it from there. Because I need to cool down. I just got done recording for Hotspot about this whole situation with Elon Musk and South Africa and I'm like, boy, I'm still hot that I even had to have that conversation. I'm just, the audacity of Elon Musk is beyond me. So 1 second, let's go ahead and pull up Hotspot video about losing $100 billion. It
looks like Zelensky just accidentally or purposely exposed Joe Biden's money laundering scheme in Ukraine after saying that he can't account for at least $100 billion. Now, for those of you who don't know, Trump came out the other day and was actually criticizing the fact that the United States looked crazy giving more than $200 billion to Ukraine while saying the EU hasn't given their fair share to match those funds. But Zelensky comes out in the middle of an interview and says, I don't know where Trump is getting that figure from. I know that Biden said that they were going to send roughly $200 billion, but we ain't seen it. Now, Zelensky is claiming that they mostly didn't even see that money in cash. It mostly went to the industries that were helping build up the Ukrainian military. Now, I'm sure that the majority of Ukraine didn't see that money. But Zelensky, come on, dog. You know you saw a little bit of that cash. Let's not. Now, this news is coming out simultaneously as Trump announces that the USAID organization is basically about to be kaput. Now, I don't want y'all to get y'all hopes up because what's probably going to actually happen is that the organization is going to be rolled up into the State Department. It will be harder for us to know exactly what's going down with the USAID, considering that it always is and has been a CIA cutout organization anyway. But understand, if Trump were to actually get rid of the USAID, it would be perfectly justified. Because here you have former USAID Director Samantha Power admitting that we've given an unprecedented amount of cash from the USAID to Ukraine, despite the fact that they have been knowingly and famously corrupt.
One of the things that Congress has given USAID since this full-scale invasion began is an unprecedented amount of money in direct budget support, which sounds kind of obvious. Of course, we would do that. We want to stand with Ukraine, but it's totally unprecedented, this kind of scale of investment. And we're talking along the lines of about $15 billion in a sense, cash to the Ukrainian government, which was famously corrupt, you know, in past years and still has worked, as you noted, to do on corruption today.
Power even admits in that clip that there's actually supposed to be a way for the USAID to track every single cent spent in Ukraine. But for some reason, $100 billion went missing. I actually don't know what's worse. The fact that the USAID has been funding and facilitating color revolutions all around the world at the cost of the US taxpayer, or the fact that they're taking our money, sending it out the country, and they don't even know where it's going. But like I said, whether it's accidentally or on purpose, Zelensky just exposed the fact that the Biden administration has been sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and it's just disappearing. So do y'all really think this war was about some existential threat being posed by Russia, or was it just another money laundering scheme like what we saw in Afghanistan? Except in Afghanistan, we were funding terrorists. In Ukraine, funding neo-Nazis. God bless America.
Yeah, man. So $100 billion disappeared, up and disappeared, just like whoop, whoop, whoop. 100 billion. Like 2 billion disappeared from Kamala's campaign, but that's a different conversation for a different day. What I find interesting about this, so what sparked this, like I said in the video, what sparked Zelensky even bring up the fact that this $100 billion was missing is the fact that Trump said on one occasion in the last couple of days that the United States had blown $200 billion on Ukraine in total, or at least in the last maybe year or so, right? And that the EU needed to do its part to help fund the war in Ukraine if that is what they want to continue, if they want to continue pushing for it. And then JD Vance came out, the vice president came out and said the same thing, we can't keep spending all this money. We're passing $200 billion, et cetera, et cetera. And so Zelensky comes out, which is to some degree, no, not to some degree, a large degree. It is a departure from the norm, because he comes out and says, yeah, man, we haven't seen that money. He admits it. He's like, now we have been saying, and y'all know, if you've been watching my content here on For the People podcast, and of course Hotspot, I've been saying over and over and over again, this has been one of the longest money laundering schemes in history. And it didn't start in 2022 when the war between Russia and Ukraine officially began. It really started during the Color Revolution in 2014, but basically it started with Biden. And people always ask, well, why Biden and not Obama? Because Obama had no foreign policy history. He had no foreign policy experience. The reason that Biden was attached to Obama was it was his job to be the international mob boss that Obama didn't have the connections or the network to be, which is why it was Hunter Biden, Biden's son, who was in charge of Burisma Energy, getting $50,000 a year to do not a motherfucking thing. But that whole situation with Burisma was also a money laundering scheme. That scheme was impeded a bit whenever Hillary lost. And in fact, the irony of all of this, for those of you who don't know, because this is like probably the most interesting this is the most interesting part of the whole situation with Ukraine, is that when Zelensky ran for president, after the Color Revolution happened, after the Maidan coup happened, he actually ran on removing the corruption that had been put in place by Joe Biden. So that, I know for a lot of people, they don't even know that, because they're so used to, they didn't see Zelensky before, right? And part of the reason y'all didn't see him was because whenever Trump was being impeached for what he allegedly had said to Zelensky, remember when they said that he had threatened to withhold aid from Ukraine if Zelensky didn't do what he said. What Trump actually said, the conversation that was had between Zelensky and Trump, rather, was that he wanted to help root out the corruption that the Obama and Biden administration had put in place there, because he had viewed it as an existential threat with Russia, which is true. That, I mean, he didn't want to go to war with Russia. Can you blame him? We would probably lose. Okay, cool. So, although Zelensky at the time was actually considered a leftist. I know, once again, crazy shit. That's what happens whenever you don't have control of your country. He was considered a leftist at the time. And at the time, the Democrats were claiming that Trump was trying to bully Zelensky. The reason that you all didn't see Zelensky yet was because the Democrats never actually called him to testify. Despite the fact the whole alleged reason behind behind Trump being impeached was because he allegedly had threatened Zelensky with foreign aid, at least to withhold the foreign aid, if he didn't do what Trump wanted, even though Zelensky actually technically contacted him first. Okay, now Biden enters the race, and if y'all recall, during the Democratic primary, that was really strange because it was Kamala. Right? Okay, cool. Kamala she's like hovering between first, second, third, third, second. I mean, then she gets obliterated by Tulsa, so we all remember that story. However, Biden enters the race. Now it's like, why you need a Biden for? We already had like a Bloomberg. We already had that one guy from Starbucks. Like, we need another old man yelling out the clouds. Well, the reason why is because you needed somebody where if Trump comes in and says, this is a lie, this is the Biden family that did this, these are the lists of Democrats that are part, not just the Democrats, really, the Republicans too, that are part of the Atlantic Council, who are helping to facilitate this Maidan coup, who are helping to facilitate the corruption in Ukraine. What did Biden get to say? He's just trying to attack a political opponent that he's going to go head to head with November. That was the reason that he ran a race. It was to restabilize the money laundering scheme that had already gotten started, and to make sure that nobody was held accountable as a result. Which is why I said before, one of the first things that I said after Biden won, which was like random. It seemed random at the time, but it really wasn't. I was just thinking like, damn, bro, Zelensky's fucked. I literally said that. I was like, yo, he's done. I feel bad for him. He has no control over the situation anymore. And he's going to have to do whatever Biden says. Because what do they call it? He's the big guy. That's the mob boss. Right? Biden can literally do at the time, and hell, you can make an argument even now, he could and could have done whatever he wanted without consequence. The man ran for president more than once. Everybody seems to forget that. He had to drop out the race. Yeah, unpopular, but mostly because he got caught plagiarizing multiple times. The dude, and he failed his way to the top, became vice president, despite being a segregation and sex pest, and failed his way into the presidency again. So if you're Zelensky, you're like, well, I'm just going to do whatever the hell they tell me to do. So now that we understand all that, fast forward. The Ukraine-Russia war starts after the UK and the United States and NATO, generally speaking, nixed the Minsk agreement. After Azov Battalion, the Nazi battalion, the primary Nazi battalion of Ukraine, is rolled into the Ukrainian government. Effectively, after Biden takes office. Like, I mean, I don't know. There's a reason that it didn't happen until after Biden took office. Right? So now we know, like, obviously Zelensky is innocent. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, we should not underestimate how much control he did not have in this situation. It does not have. Okay? Which is why I find it extremely interesting that out of nowhere, he's like, okay, Biden gone. So yeah, man, we ain't really never see any of that money. During that same interview, he said, even the majority of that money that we did get, didn't even go to us. It went directly to U.S. arms companies. So there's $100 billion that we just don't even know where it's at. Then the $75 billion that he's saying that they did get, the majority of it didn't actually go to Ukraine. It went right back to us, or right back to the arms industry, which most of us knew, but Zelensky never really was willing to admit outright. So the fact that he said that the money, because he was very clear, the money that Biden said he sent, he didn't say, oh, the money that was sent was, he said, the money that Biden said he sent, I never got it. Where did it go then? Because Samantha Powers, director of the USAID, or I should say former director of the USAID, said what? That there is a way to track every single cent digitally that has been spent. In the USAID, it is a CIA cutout. It is an organization responsible for various color revolutions around the world, not just funding military efforts, but propaganda efforts as well. But she comes out and it says, no, there's a way to track all that. So if there is a way to track it, that means that somebody knows where the money is. But my conclusion, somebody was told not to say where the money's at. That's basically it. So shortly after, now, once again, let's not get it twisted. Zelensky is not innocent. We done seen his wife pull up with the jewels, with the flashy flash. She not even hiding the money she getting. I know that Zelensky was a pretty successful comedian. For those of you who don't know, he was a comedian, a celebrity, technically speaking, before he was a president. He wasn't that damn successful, I can promise you that. Okay, we done seen about the flashy yachts. We done heard about all the money that his administration, if you want to even call it that, has taken. Even Seymour Hersh put out a report detailing how he embezzled personally $400 million. So, like, let's not pretend like you ain't seen none of that cash. Maybe the Ukrainian people have not seen it, but you definitely saw some of it. He's not innocent by any stretch of the imagination. But I do believe that this is an attempt for him to try and start to save his own ass, because he is seeing the direction that this is headed. Whenever they froze all of the assets, so the Trump administration, they froze all the they froze all foreign aid for 90 days to audit, basically, and figure out where the money should and should not be going. Now, there was a statement that was put out by Ukrainian media that 90% of their media was hurt because it's, wow, surprise, surprise, it was propaganda that was being basically financed by the United States and specifically the USAID. Wow. Wow, what a surprise. But on top of that, they were still getting, they said that the arms industry, the military aid would not be affected. But Zelensky just said, well, yeah, but that don't really matter because we're not getting that money. That's going right back to the US too. So effectively, that probably is why the military aid wasn't affected, not because of some altruistic goal by Trump and Marco Rubio to continue to support Ukraine financially, but it's because the money has already been spent by the U.S. industry, arms industry. So like Zelensky's in panic mode, basically what I'm saying. And when you go to panic mode, snitch is snitch. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like snitch is snitch. He gonna save his own ass. That's what I got from it. Because Biden is not there anymore. We already know how I've already said time and time again, y'all. The Democrats do not have a bench. I'm saying that they have zero idea who comes next. They don't know who the power broker is in the party. There is no one to run the money laundering scheme in Ukraine anymore, not with any level of consistency and control that Biden and his crime family had. So Zelensky is trying to cut and run. And then once again, with this USAID being broken down, y'all know that they took down their Twitter. Samantha Powers, like I said, I don't know if you want to call her the director still. I would refer to her as former director because she took down her Twitter. Look, she took down her Twitter. Now, I do want to be clear, though. Just because the USAID, which is a CIA cutout, has been effectively taken away, effectively ended, if you will, at least in name, this is where you got to read the fine print. So as you can see here, it's from CBS News, it was updated yesterday, February 3rd, 2025. The USAID, the United States Agency for International Development, will be merged into the State Department with significant cuts in the workforce, but it will remain a humanitarian aid entity, 3 U.S. officials told CBS News. Officials and President Trump's administration are expected to announce the moves in the coming days. Discussions about the extent of the funding reduction remain fluid on Monday. Mr. Trump made Secretary Marco Rubio the acting administrator of the USAID, sources said. And Rubio himself soon confirmed it to reporters traveling with him in El Salvador. ABC News earlier reported his status as chief. Rubio said in a letter to congressional leaders that he has authorized Peter Morocco, Director of Foreign Assistance at State, to perform the duties of the Deputy Administrator of USAID and to begin a review and potential reorganization of USAID's activities to maximize efficiency and align operations. Now this is the propaganda part. USAID, a humanitarian. Hold on, let me make sure y'all can see this, right? Yeah, okay, y'all can read it. It's big enough. The USAID oversees humanitarian development and security programs and about. You see that? You see how I just slipped that in there? Humanitarian development and security programs. This is supposed to be an independent NGO. Did y'all know that? The USAID is actually considered to be an independent organization that for some reason is exclusively funded by Congress. Seriously. That there are Democrats making that's why they were upset about the USAID being dismantled in the way it was. They're like, how can you dismantle this independent organization that's funded by Congress? Why is an independent organization being totally funded and 100% funded by Congress? It's not independent. Why are you using an independent organization to overthrow governments around the world under their guise of humanitarian aid? Oh, because it's a ruse? That was the whole point, right? So I guess the bright side about this, about the USAID being rolled into the State Department, is that we no longer have to worry about the wool being pulled over our eyes as to what the ultimate goals of the USAID is, or are, excuse me. We know that, like, we know how the State Department gets down. So it's like, thank you, appreciate it. You pull back the curtain. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna be an imperialist, Western imperialist piece of shit, like, just be honest about it. But that's usually the difference between Republicans and Democrats. The Democrats pretend to be humanitarians while engaging in imperialism and colonialism and genocide, and then the Republicans just openly do it, and they just justify in whatever way they feel necessary. Anyway, it says that USAID is participating in development and security programs in 120 countries around the world. That seems perfectly normal. According to the Nonpartisan Congressional Research Service, USAID provides assistance to strategically important countries and countries in conflict, leads U.S. efforts to alleviate poverty, disease, humanitarian need, and assists U.S. commercial interests. Yeah, that's a little bit more accurate. Assists in U.S. commercial interests by supporting developing countries' economic growth. Hey, I just got like just a quick question. Really quick. They said that they gave billions of dollars to Ukraine via USAID, and their goal is to do what exactly? Allegedly alleviate poverty, disease, and humanitarian need. Question. Because I don't live there anymore. Gracias Deus. I don't live in the U.S. anymore, guys. But don't y'all have a little bit of poverty and disease and humanitarian need out there still? Am I? Did y'all fix all y'all problems in the last 6 or 7 years? Did that happen? Because I just find it interesting that the USAID, according to Samantha Powers, has spent an unprecedented amount. That was her phrase. An unprecedented amount of money in Ukraine. Billions. And the goal is supposedly to help deal with poverty, disease, and humanitarian needs around the world. What about at your crib? What about at your fucking house? Well, we already conquered there. we don't need to overthrow our own government. Well, that's a different conversation. But you know what I'm saying? Like, what's crazy is, like, they create these fake organizations with goals that don't even seem to align with the actions that they're doing in their own country, with the advocacy in their own country. Oh man, we want to fight disease. Okay, so like in your own country, how about, I don't know, universal health care? Oh, whoa, hold up, that's too expensive. 200 billion, 100 billion to Ukraine, make it work. Literally sending aid to 120 different nations, make it work. We can make it work. Oh, so you can help fight disease in other countries, but you can't help fight disease in your own country? It seems like you might be lying about one of those two goals then. That's what I'm taking from it. And even Marco Rubio here, by the way, he actually goes on to clarify what they mean by what like, so y'all saw, like I said, they deleted the USAID. They Samantha Powers, former director, is out. And as excited as people might want to be that the USAID is no longer operating in an official capacity, we still need to be mindful that they are still indeed operating. But this conversation that we're going to watch with Marco Rubio in a little bit might actually give y'all some, dare I say, hope? It felt a little weird saying that. Felt a little weird, not going to lie. I'm going to let y'all be the judge. We're going to talk about it. But like I said, based off that interview with Megyn Kelly, Marco Rubio seems to have been replaced by a body double. We're going to get to that. But this is what Marco Rubio is admitting, like USAID is not going anywhere. It's just being reformed.
They're a global entity and that their master is the globe. and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable.
Can it be reformed or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone, we work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. They're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable.
Can it be?
So you see why they rolled it up into the State Department, because they like, hold on, y'all can kind of do what y'all feel like with the money that Congress is providing. Y'all do what y'all want to, and we don't have enough say in it. Come here, get your ass, grab him by the ear and bring him in the house. Basically, is what just happened. And now Marco Rubio has control over it. So now it's not a CIA cutout; it's just CIA. I don't know how else to put that. That's what that the State Department basically does what the CIA tells it to. So, is it good? Once again, I feel like there is a silver lining in this situation where one, not Marco Rubio, the State Department under Marco Rubio now has to be more transparent about the imperialism that they're engaging in around the world. You can't, these people cannot hide behind the USAID like they once did. Any expenditures that are being made on behalf of the US government has to be revealed, right? Like, we're not going to get a message years later like we did when the Ukrainian nonprofit organizations and these media companies and basically the entire propaganda machine came out and we're like, yeah, man, so real quick, I know we just conveniently forgot to mention this before, but 90% of our independent media that is only allowed because we refuse to criticize Zelensky, 90% of that was being funded by the USAID. Can y'all give us some money, please? Because we're broke. Now, this happened while this is within the same time frame that the majority of Western nations, the majority of NATO, banned RT because of what? Because of this claim that RT was planting secret agents around the world to try and influence the world with secret Russian propaganda. When RT they were just a news company. Like, what? And it's the funniest part about RT to me that I never really understood the hate against them and this idea that they constantly push pro-Russia propaganda is because, like, if you actually sat down and watched RT for a day, for example, just like watch them roll through. First of all, they barely talk about Russia. When I worked for RT back in the day, I think I did one story about Russia. And it was because like everybody was talking about it at the time, so I came on to do an interview about it. But like, we barely talked about Russia. Now, the thing was, depending on what show you had, you could talk you had journalistic liberty. You had creative liberty. You could talk about whatever foreign policy issue you wanted to, however you wanted to talk about it. Like, especially if you had your own show. That was really the issue. And if you are allowed to do that, then eventually, obviously, if you've done enough research and you ultimately come to the conclusion that what? Yeah, the United States is the problem. But they were accusing Russia of secretly paying organizations and secretly paying people, trying to hide their motives. And once again, we just found out, oh shit, the United States is projecting again. They're the ones who are doing it. That's what was happening. And they were doing it in this particular case through the USAID. So now they're going to have to show everything that they're doing and how the United States government is exactly involved in it. We don't have to tell people and show people through various methods how the USAID is a CIA cutout working on behalf of the United States government. It's going to be there. Like, it's already, the motives will be clear because they have been rolled into the State Department. And Zelensky, man, just another potential piece of silver lining. Zelensky, just really quick, let me talk to you. It's me and you, man. It's just me and you right now. I know we got like 350 people watching, but like, it's me and you right now, right? Okay. You need to go ahead and start talking. You keep trying to drop these little breadcrumbs out there like this. Look, they gonna put some dirt on you. And I'm not talking about corruption. Like, I'm not talking about no blackmail. I'm talking about they're gonna literally throw some dirt on you. You just need to go ahead, come out, tell everything that you know. You know what I'm saying? Appeal to Trump's ego. We know if Trump gonna do anything, he gonna let you stroke his ego, and he gonna reward you for it. Make it seem like he got a W. Come out and just tell everything. Because if you keep dropping breadcrumbs and you keep withholding information because you're trying to play this little this little game of like, okay, let me play both sides. Let me see what the outcome gonna be. It's not gonna work, dog. They're gonna get you. You know what happens to leaders once they outlived their usefulness and they look like they're going to snitch. We know. It's happened to Russian leaders that the United States were financing. Right? Like, yeah, we're going to make it look like he got killed by Putin. Even though he was literally working for us. Okay? Just some friendly advice, my guy. Don't do the breadcrumbs. Just tell the truth. Do it while you still can, while you can still save your ass. Because if you wait long enough, somebody somewhere is going to catch you in a dark alley or at a red light, if you catch my drift. So, with that being said, we're going to check out some of these comments. But Robert, Niko, you need to clean your camera. Oh, that's crazy. I always clean my camera beforehand. You said my camera's dirty? My camera don't look dirty from my angle. Does it look dirty from your angle? That might be a resolution thing. Maybe a StreamYard. That's crazy. That's crazy, Robbie. That man's Robbie came. The first thing he said, boy, you got a dirty camera. That's wild. I still rocks with you though, Robbie. Let me see why aren't you? RT had all the earmarks of a Russian intelligence organization. How so? What do you mean by that? I'm curious as to what you mean by that. Because RT is pretty open about literally everything they did. So I don't know how. I'm genuinely curious as to what, like, Russian intelligence, how? Because I feel like maybe you could say something like that about CNN or MSNBC or Fox News because they literally just bring on a bunch of ex-CIA operatives and don't even hide it while claiming that they're not working for the intelligence community. So I'm genuinely curious as to why you feel like that. Oh, I get what you're saying now. It's the saying that MSM uses, mainstream media uses about everybody they don't like. That is very true. Yeah, that is very true. Super general, not really specific, and they don't really have any proof. So we're gonna move on to this situation with Elon Musk because, bruh, let me just, okay, first of all, just for clarification, you already know I don't like Elon Musk. I don't like Elon Musk. I mean, the man got daddy issue energy. Like, just anyone, anywhere can tell that a man who, well, no, excuse me, not anyone. If you got your own issues, maybe it's hard to perceive this. However, a man who buys his own website, right, own social media platform, and arguably the largest social media platform in the world, or at least the most influential outside of TikTok, maybe. And then you spend all of your time begging for attention on that same social media platform and then feeling good about the attention that you're getting because everybody's kissing your ass, but it's because you control the algorithm and the algorithm also controls their paychecks. Any man who engages in that type of behavior is a fucking clown. You are a cornball. You are corny as hell. You already ability, like, that just lets you know when they say money and everything, that's not hyperbole. It lets you know that a lot of these people, especially billionaires like Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, they didn't earn their billions legitimately. That's like a whole different conversation, I know, but like if you ever looked at anything Whitney Webb has done, Last American Vagabond does good stuff on this. I've done some coverage on this too. Elon Musk didn't invent electric cars. He didn't even invent Tesla. It was a a convenient hostile takeover by a up and coming. I think he's part of the PayPal guys, right? But he didn't invent Tesla. He barely survived as a company after he took it over. He survived off of U.S. subsidiaries, subsidies from the federal government, from the state government, in the same way that Amazon would have gotten killed if it wasn't for the U.S. giving them all their money. Okay, and then with SpaceX, for example, like that is a Pentagon, like basically a Pentagon contract, Pentagon company that Elon just put his name on to get support, and so they could have somebody to run it as a company. But like, you couldn't even invest in SpaceX at the time. I think you had to invest in SpaceX, you had to invest in Google. Yeah, because that's totally legitimate. Okay, so then with this whole Twitter takeover, he also kind of he shouldn't have been able to buy Twitter, but with the help of the U.S. government, out of nowhere, he was able to. To make a long story short, it was a hostile takeover. He shouldn't have been able to do it, but he was able to. And they're very, I'm assuming because he's a rampant Zionist, that's why they allowed it. So fast forward. For those of you who don't know, South Africa has passed legislation. It was on January 24th, 2025. It's been in the works for a couple of years. It's an expropriation bill that will allow the procurement of private farmland to be used by the South African government for the public good. I'm gonna show y'all this tweet in response to what took place from Elon Musk. Because once again, I'm just in awe that just the audacity of it all is what be killing me. So Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa. He says South Africa is a constitutional democracy that is deeply rooted in the rule of law, justice, and equality. South African government has not confiscated any land. The recently adopted Expropriation Act is not a confiscation instrument, but a constitutionally mandated legal process that ensures public access to land in an equitable and just manner as guided by the Constitution. Now, I know for an apartheid baby, that might be a little offensive, but them's the rules, and Congress voted on it. South Africa, like the United States of America and other countries, has always had expropriation laws that balance the need for public usage of land and protection of rights and property owners. It's very true. We have eminent domain. Now, you have to, for eminent domain, in the majority of cases, you do have to compensate, but not every time. There are exceptions to that rule. So, just to be clear, we look forward to engaging with the Trump administration over our land reform policy and issues of bilateral interest. We are certain that out of those engagements, we will share a better and common understanding over these matters. The U.S. remains a key strategic political partner and trade partner for South Africa, with the exception of PEPFAR aid, which constitutes 17% of South Africa's HIV program. There is no other funding that is received by South Africa from the United States. Oh Lord, that's fucking hilarious. First of all, that was like the biggest flex ever. He's like, so like, I just want to be clear before you go on talking about what you got to do. Okay, we don't need your money. That's basically what he said. That was like a backhanded. We're willing to converse. We're willing to converse with you, my guy. But just to be clear, we don't need your fucking money. That's what that was. Now, Elon respond. Now, despite all of that, he could have responded with some text. He could have responded with a screenshot of the policy, could have responded with the video, educating his audience. I know that's like probably too much to ask. He could have responded a number of ways. I mean, this is a billionaire, at least officially considered the richest man in the world. And he works for the Trump administration. He's an official member of the U.S. government, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. This is how he responds. Why do you have openly racist ownership laws? Nigga, what? Oh my God. That's how you chose to go with this. Okay, that's where we're going. That's where we went. That's where he went, guys. Holy hell. I thought like the lack of self-awareness here. I don't even know where to begin to describe how simultaneously infuriating, but also kind of hilarious in an ironic way. Because my guy, you're an apartheid baby. Did you just ask the president of Africa? By the way, once again, the president of Africa, or South Africa, excuse me, not Africa. The president of South Africa, all he did was sign a piece of legislation that has actually been in the works for about 2 or 3 years, that their democratic representative body put together and passed at a congressional level. Okay. The representative body being a body that actually represents the majority of the people there for once. Okay. And he goes on to explain that, hey man, this is just how we doing business. We're doing what's in the we're doing what's in the interest of the public good. Okay. And this motherfucker responds with, why do you have openly racist ownership? What does that even mean? What does that mean, guys? What does he mean by why do you have racist ownership? I'm curious as to what he means by that. Because do you understand what that insinuates? Because if you read the law, which I read a good majority of it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe it says, oh, if you're not a Black South African, then perhaps you are more likely to have your land confiscated than if you are a white South African. That's like, I thought that maybe there was some rhetoric like that in nope, there's nothing like that. Okay, cool. So what do you mean by that, Elon? How is it blatantly racist? Unless you're saying that for some reason you're under the impression that the majority of the land that is owned privately is primarily owned by white people for some reason, and that they would be the primary demographic affected by land confiscation in this particular case, that would then be, of course, used for the public good of South Africa, which is primarily Black. Are you under the impression that somehow white people own 95% of the land and the wealth of South Africa, and this legislation for some reason could particularly affect them? Is that why you think it's racist, Elon? I'm just gonna go ahead and give y'all the answer. Yeah, that's exactly. He's a dumbass. He actually is admitting that he is aware of the fact that it is white people who own the majority of profitable South African land. It is white. Why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Just so we can go ahead and clarify for the people who they might be new here. Maybe they don't know what the hell's been going on in the fucking world for the last, 100 years, 50 years. But why is that, ladies and gentlemen? Why is it that primarily, despite the fact that South Africa is majority Black, that 95% of the wealth and the land owned in the country is owned by white people? Anybody want to get the answer? Is apartheid. Y'all got the land because of apartheid. Did you really just ask this man, why do y'all have racist land ownership policies? Motherfucker, ask your daddy. The multi-millionaire emerald mining guy that was able to do so by taking advantage of the apartheid state that made your family rich as hell. It's not just that Elon Musk decided to come out. First of all, boy, you just came out with a whole Nazi salute like 2 weeks ago. You want to say some shit like this? Like, all of a sudden, everybody, you gotta take a step back and be like, well, shit, was that Nazi salute by accident for real? I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, maybe it was an accident. But now, with further context, was it an accident? Or was it a Freudian slip? I mean, when his maternal grandparents only, you know why he had Canadian citizenship? Because he's an elite. Y'all do know he's an undocumented immigrant. He is a billionaire and he's officially a U.S. citizen. But under Trump's current policies, like this blitzkrieg that he's engaging in right now, Elon Musk would be gone. Well, he probably wouldn't be gone because he's white. But y'all get what I'm saying. I'm saying, technically speaking, he would be shutting the hell up. We wouldn't be hearing from him because he would be gone, because he would, under Trump's policies, be violating his visa. He overstayed his visa, and visa overstayers have been getting shipped out. Okay. So that's already like whatever. But the fact that you are from South Africa, that's where you got your riches from. That's where you got your opportunity from. He's Canadian because his Nazi grandparents came from there on his maternal side. His Nazi-loving grandparents admired the apartheid government. And that is why they moved to South Africa. And that is why Elon got his broke-ass Walmart brand British accent from being born there. He got his wealth because of what the apartheid South African government allowed his white father to get, the land that he was allowed to profit from, that South Africans, indigenous to the area, were not allowed to profit from. But then he comes to the United States. And we almost hear him never say a motherfucking word about South African apartheid. That only ended in April of 1994. April of 1994. Guys, I am older than the end of the apartheid government in South Africa. That is like minutes in the grand scheme of history, guys, and reconciliation and reformation. Like, that is like minutes in the course of a 24-hour day. Do y'all understand that? But Elon Musk, with all of his platforms, all of the access he has, all the interviews he's done, the fact that he is literally South African, he has not, with any sort of consistency, criticized the apartheid government or the reverberating impact that South Africans are still feeling from the apartheid. Because it wasn't like you just went, it's like I always say, like, you don't, like, what, because the 13th, 14th, and 15th amendments were passed in the Constitution, racism just disappeared. That's not how fucking life works, bro. That's not how life works. So just because the apartheid government was officially ended, that does not mean the reverberating impact of decades of an apartheid government, almost a century of an apartheid government, all of a sudden just disappears. That's not how it works. Especially when still 90+% of the wealth and land are owned by the same white people who are just passing it down to their fucking families. Okay? Or had an opportunity to purchase the land because they were white. Okay. So you don't talk about South Africa forever, despite being South African. And then you get a position in government. You got this massive platform. And they're like, yeah, man, we're just going to do what we can. We're going to pass legislation. We're going to do it the right way. And we're going to do what we have to take care of our own. In the interest of in the interest of South African sovereignty. And like, bro, now you want to talk? Now you want to come out and say that they're passing rates? Like, now you're concerned about this? Now this is a problem for you. Passing laws about land purchase or land grabs that may or may not affect one race more than the other, all of a sudden is of concern to you. Do you understand how ironic? Look, man, y'all can't keep blaming Asperger's on this dumbassity. He's just a racist piece of shit. And I said that politics is going to break Elon, and it's happening in front of us in real time, guys. There's no way that he thought this was a good idea. There's no way you thought that this was the tweet to sound. You're an apartheid baby who just got done getting jammed up for a Nazi salute that you accidentally did. And then Trump's dumbass is going to come out and be like, yeah, we're going to sanction South Africa. You just talking, Trump. You talking trying to defend your guy. Because, you know, him and Elon are like this. They're like best buds. He wants to be part of the cool club. And he's like, yeah, we're going to sanction South Africa for them passing like, okay, America first. You know, isn't that what they say? Make America great again. What the fuck? What does this have to do with America? Like, if we're just being keeping it a ban, MAGA, please explain how is this affecting America? How does sanctioning South Africa for them using the legislative process to control their own land, their own policies, their own private industry, how they decide to proceed post-apartheid, how the hell is that America first? What interest does that serve here, people? Like the only let's be real, guys. Let's be real. Like the only reason that you could possibly think this is a good idea to bring up, and like you thought that it was necessary to bring up, is because you're like super offended that rich white people are about to be affected by a policy that they actually should have been preparing to deal with since the apartheid ended. Because y'all knew how y'all got the land to begin with. Y'all not stupid. The only credit I can give to Elon is probably he thought to himself, shit, let me just go out and get up out of here. I'm seeing where this is going. That's probably why Elon Musk got up out of South Africa, because he realized once the apartheid was over, he became a dope. Like, man, shit, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to get the kind of money my dad got here. I got to get up out of here. But like, y'all have to realize the optics on this. Guys, y'all know me. I'm not a race baiter. Okay? First thing from it. But I call a spade, and there is no other conclusion to be drawn. This has nothing to do with American interests. We have some trade with South Africa, but as far as sanctioning financially, like we don't, like, you're just virtue signaling to tell everybody that you're upset. Because like the president said, we don't need your money. So what you talking about? So what are you doing? I want to show the world that I'm upset that white people are being treated badly in South Africa. White people who directly benefited from the apartheid. Like, y'all are lucky that y'all not having to spend all that money. Yeah, see, like, they're lucky, in my opinion, that they're stopping at we will have to procure or confiscate land or whatever you want to call it. And that's it. Because motherfucker like me would be like, yeah, give me your land, and while you at it, I'm gonna need some reparations, because y'all been making a lot of money off our government and y'all ain't really been doing enough to contribute to the people that you prevented from owning this land, or from the people that, cause y'all do know that there are people in South Africa who are still alive that remember having their land stolen from them. It's true. I was watching videos about it, I'm like, what that's crazy. But yeah, they're still alive. Like, and they're not like super old either. It's like, nope, I remember having my land just stolen from. So what's even crazier about all this is, as this is happening, y'all, I'm like, I don't know why this feels even more ironic than I'm realizing, because I was so focused on just the stupidity, just the dumbassity of the whole thing. And then I realized why I felt like, I'm like, there's something I'm missing here. There's an angle that I am not thinking about. Like, damn, it's kind of weird how concerned Elon Musk is about racist land grab laws. And I know it's because he's an apartheid baby, but I feel like there's something else. Yeah, this is what that something else is. Elon is a raging Zionist. Elon is a raging Zionist who cheers on the stealing and the theft of Palestinian land that doesn't just stop at theft. It literally is a genocide. They murder these Palestinians. They murder Palestinians. They are wiping them off the face of the planet because they're Palestinian, and they're getting away with it. They're getting away with it. I mean, I hate to. I'm not trying to be pessimistic about the situation. I know that there are entities that are trying to fight back, but for all intents and purposes, at least as far as the U.S. government is concerned, they're getting away with it and they're getting cheered on. They're getting financed. And they're getting away with it because they're Palestinian, because God knows if those people were white, that would not happen. I mean, look at how offended y'all are when a few white people get there. They haven't even had their land stolen yet, by the way. They haven't had their land taken back from them yet. Y'all are freaking out over what might happen to a few rich white people in South Africa. Meanwhile, Palestinians are getting wiped off the face of the planet because and y'all don't care because they're Palestinian and because of who is doing it to them. And y'all don't see the irony here? My guys, y'all don't see the irony here? Why are you passing racial? Do you understand why the Gaza Strip is like why like nobody can travel or freely, at least, from the Gaza Strip into Israel, at least the Palestinians? Y'all do know that it's because of racist land laws and racist land ownership laws. Y'all like who can purchase land in the Gaza Strip, like purchase? Who can purchase land in the West Bank? Who can't? Who can run military operations and who cannot? Who is protected by Israeli law and who is not? Whose laws are respected and whose laws are not? Who has to respect international law and who does? Like, are you fucking kidding me, Elon? You worried about some farmland getting stolen while there's like, oh man, racist farmland laws. When once again, why are you assuming it's racist? Is it because that 95% of the white people own the land? Or 95% of that land and the wealth that comes from it is owned by the white people? Or is it because what? Because they didn't say that it would be exclusive to white people. Why are you assuming that it would be the white people that are primarily hindered by this? But then we know for a fact that the Palestinians in Gaza are being targeted and the Palestinians in the West Bank are being targeted. And you're like, yeah, man, that's crazy, man. Anyway, man, we got to fight back against anti-Semitism. Yep, that's the important thing. Are you kidding me, bro? And do you know what the wildest part about this particular expropriations bill is? He didn't do a basic level of research before opening his mouth, because this particular bill, ladies and gentlemen, was actually passed to overturn an apartheid policy. It was passed to overturn apartheid policy. Like, it was passed as a direct contradiction to a racist law on purpose because the other law was fucking racist. That's why. Took like 10 minutes to figure that out. Less than that, I think. Holy hell, guys. Whose mans is this? And then for both of them, Trump and Elon, y'all Trump is out here trying to talk about, oh man, if y'all try to take land that doesn't belong to you, if the government tries to take land that doesn't belong to them in this particular case, which you can't say that their land doesn't belong to them, it's the fucking government. It's the land that is in the country of the government that's trying to procure the land. You can't say what does and does not belong to them. But Trump is out here saying, I'm going to threaten y'all with sanctions. He's criticizing them. Elon's criticizing them and threatening them with sanctions. Okay, Trump, just really quick. Weren't you the same man that was like 2 weeks ago saying you about to take Greenland from Denmark? To the point where you even said if you have to do so by deploying the military and taking it by force on behalf of U.S. interests, then you are willing to do so. You the same guy who just said that. Greenland isn't even in your area code, my dog. And you are talking about sending troops to take that land from another country's protection. But you worried about what South Africa is doing in its own country. Once again, through a democratic process, with democratically elected representatives, with a democratically elected president who's trying to a democratically passed law that would benefit the majority of the country. Bruh. As they say in Brazil, isso não bate certo. This is not making any sense. Y'all, you are like, there is no consistency in the MAGA movement anymore. It is not. It is an incoherent movement of dick riding and knob slobbing. Y'all don't even care that the reason that y'all asked for Trump to be in power is because it was supposed to be the focus on America. So why is it every time I read a tweet from Trump or Elon Musk, it's them putting their nose in some other country's fucking business unnecessarily? And why are y'all either quiet about it or cheering it on? Y'all looking real blue. Y'all are getting worse than blue MAGA, actually. Because to be quite frank, it ain't like Biden promised to not be an imperialist. He never pitched himself as being the anti-war candidate. Or being, I don't want to call it isolationist, but being nationalist in the sense that he would primarily focus on spending money here at home. Like, that's why I said it's bizarre that Rubio sounds more thoughtful and clear-headed than Trump. And we're gonna actually watch that video here in about a minute. But like, what is going on, y'all? Why? What is the point of signaling? Why are you telling everybody, yeah, man, we're pissed off that y'all trying to repeal this apartheid law? What? Don't tell people that. Y'all don't know how to be racist in private anymore, guys. Come on, guys. Come on. Y'all know how to be racist in private. Like, we already be knowing, but like, y'all can't do the Biden thing, like, post-segregationist Biden, where he just was racist behind closed doors instead of being racist in public. Like, he didn't come out and openly support an apartheid government or apartheid policies. Trump needs to get Elon in check. Because like I said, Elon is breaking down in front of us mentally. He is making political missteps. And in my opinion, eventually, it doesn't seem like it right now, but I feel like eventually it will make Trump's job extremely difficult. And if I feel like it's already making Marco Rubio's job difficult. And it will make Tulsi Gabbard's job as DNI difficult. I feel like it's just going to make whoever, if you got anything like that, you're trying to do any type of democratic relations, you're trying to conduct business. Why do you want, it's one thing when Trump is out there tweeting, because Trump be tweeting and, Trump is a little strategic in the way he tweets, right? He's a little strategic and how he goes about his business when it comes to social media. You got to give him a little credit for that. That is not Elon. Elon is completely and totally reactionary. Totally reactionary and is looking for attention. And will say whatever he has to in order to get that attention. Even if it makes the MAGA movement or the Trump administration look bad. And Trump is about to find that out if he keeps letting him shoot out from the hip like this. Just saying. Elon is living proof, y'all, that money is not correlated with intelligence at all. At least in the United States. I can't speak for the entire world, but I know in the United States, money and intelligence, it damn near seems to be an opposite correlation. I don't remember what that is. Somebody who's an expert in statistics could probably tell me what that means. But like, it seems to be a direct opposite correlation in the US nowadays. Like the wealthier you are, like if you're super wealthy, I'm not talking about like guys who, got up and, you invested your money smart, like real actual investors that like, not like super vulture capitalists. I'm talking about actual investors who spent money smart, invested in real estate, things like that. That's what I'm talking about. Like billionaires who are like got 3 contracts with the Pentagon, or how that shit goes. And then all of a sudden I'm one of the richest guys in the world. Like that type of billion. It seems to be like the more money you got, CEO, like you're not really smart. You like a dumbass is easy to control. And you're just very convincing in short spurts, which is why CEOs get switched out so much. Because you can only bullshit people for so long. Elon is this dumbass motherfucker just came out and openly advocated for apartheid, basically, for pro-apartheid policy, or at least advocated against an anti-apartheid policy. That is, at least on paper, the richest man in the world, working in the US government, who has been given his own official department in an administration with no political experience. And he's never demonstrated any ability to be efficient and effective with his money. His businesses have survived from US government subsidies. So what? So basically, if you're one of those people who are a little bit slower than the others, don't fret. There's a chance you're probably gonna be a billionaire one day. You're gonna have to compromise almost all your integrity. You're gonna have to look like a fool to the majority of the world. But hey, at least you'll be able to ski with the American flag on 4th of July. About Facebook that nobody uses, but somehow Mark Zuckerberg's still one of the richest men ever. You'll be able to tweet from your own website and have everybody kiss your ass, because that's the only way they can keep getting paid as much as they do, is if they do kiss your ass. Yeah, right. So don't give up hope, guys. You too could be a dumbass billionaire one day. Oh man, really quick, let's check out this interview, or a part of this interview with Marco Rubio, because I was a little bit taken aback by some of his responses, and I'm curious as to what you guys think about those responses. So Marco Rubio sat down with Megyn Kelly, who isn't really known for her foreign policy expertise. So it was a little bit surprising that she sat down with the Department of State. But she actually asked pretty decent questions. She let Marco Rubio respond in kind.
On the right.
And now I think that we actually got a decent interview out of it. And I encourage you all to go watch the full interview yourselves. I'm going to check out a part of it here. But we got a decent interview, and we actually got to learn a little bit about how Marco Rubio plans on governing. So I'll put this up for you guys. So we're going to check out this part first.
It's such a tricky time to be Secretary of State, especially as a Republican, because you look at the Republican Party and it's fractured internally about where we should be on foreign policy. It's not like during the Bush years where it was, we were much more neocon-y on the right. And now there's a real division within the right, within MAGA even, on what should we do about Ukraine? Most of the party, I think, wants nothing to do with that anymore. What kind of saber rattling should we be doing about Iran? There's a large strain that believes none. We should be focused on China, and we should stop demonizing Iran and Russia and keep our eye on our biggest threat. I know you think they're our biggest threat as well. So just give me the 30,000 foot level view of how you're going to navigate that fraction.
Well, I think we spend a lot of time in American politics debating tactics, like what we're going to do, who we're going to sanction, what letter we're going to send or whatever. I think it really has to start with strategy. What is the strategic objective? What's the purpose, the mission? And I think the mission of American foreign policy, and this may sound sort of obvious, but I think it's been lost. The interest of American foreign policy is to further the national interest of the United States of America, right? I mean,
America first.
And that's the way the world has always worked. The way the world has always worked is that the Chinese will do what's in the best interest of China, the Russians will do what's in the best interest of Russia, the Chileans are going to do what's in the best interest of Chile, and the United States needs to do what's in the best interest of the United States. Where our interests align, that's where you have partnerships and alliances. Where our differences are not aligned, that is where the job of diplomacy is to prevent conflict.
Okay, so now do y'all understand, just from that sentence, from that response alone, why I feel like Marco Rubio has been replaced with a body double? That was a very reasonable and diplomatic and judicious response. Like, I don't have any criticisms. That's the news. I don't know. That is the breaking news here. I don't have any criticisms whatsoever. When he was describing Russia, China, Chile, for example, he didn't demonize them, guys. That's bizarre. That is bizarre for Marco Rubio, who has been historically one of the biggest neocons and has directly participated. I mean, it's talking about Chile, for example. Bro, this dude is known for going out into Latin America and trying to covertly or overtly overthrow governments, or at least help overthrow governments. And the way he responded was like, I respect the fact that these countries are all thinking about their national interests while engaging in international relations. That's how it should be. We're not doing that, and we're not doing that in such a way that it almost comes out as if we don't even have a strategy. We need to be trying where our interests don't align. We need to try to figure out a way that we can figure that out and resolve that without conflict. Bruh, who is this man? Who is this man? This ain't the Marco Rubio that I know. I'm a little bit confused by this. Well, I'm gonna let him cook a little bit. We're gonna let him cook a little bit more. Hold on.
While still furthering our national interest and understanding they're going to further theirs. And that's been lost. And I think that was lost at the end of the Cold War because we were the only power in the world. And so we assumed this responsibility of sort of becoming the global government in many cases, trying to solve every problem. And there are terrible things happening in the world. There are. And then there are things that are terrible that impact our national interest directly. And we need to prioritize those again. So it's not normal for the world to simply have a unipolar power. That was an anomaly. It was the product of the end of the Cold War. But eventually you were going to reach back to a point where you had a multipolar world, great powers in different parts of the planet. We face that now with China and to some extent, Russia. And then you have rogue states like Iran and North Korea you have to deal with. So now more than ever, we need to remember that foreign policy should always be about furthering the national interest of the United States and doing so to the extent possible, avoiding war and armed conflict.
Did this man admit that there is a multipolar world? Did he actually acknowledge that reality? Did he just acknowledge that, yeah, we got to actually figure out how to navigate our differences with other countries without trying to destroy them and blow them into little tiny pieces? Once again, y'all, this is the break. Where is Marco Rubio? I know there's always the running meme online. That's a clone. That's a clone. Bruh, I don't know. This one might be a clone. Somebody switched out Marco Rubio. Because when I saw this interview, I'm like, I was in the bathroom. I was like brushing my teeth, watching my Facebook shit. And I'm like listening to him talk. And I like around the back, I say, who the fuck is talking? That can't be Marco Rubio. And I'm like trying to look at the interview to verify that it's from like recently, since he's been State Department head. I'm like, cause there's no way that this is the Secretary of State that what? Bruh. These answers are perfect. Now, I don't agree with him calling Iran or North Korea rogue states, but like that's better than what they previously referred to them as, which is basically targets to be destroyed. Ellie JJ USA, what's going on, man? Thank you for the super chat. Exactly, Niko. Did you cover the USAID was spending their money on? I can't follow Doge on X. I don't hate Rubio right now. I did cover some of the things that USAID were spending their money on. Yeah, I did. That was in the first part. But y'all, you can't trust Rubio. Of course you do. You don't trust Rubio. But you got to admit, this is straight. Somebody said Rubio got, oh my God, Rubio got medicated. Rubio got medicated. He acting like that, right? Like he calmed down a little bit. But this is strange, guys, because this seems to be at odds with Trump's own rhetoric in foreign policy thus far. Would y'all not agree, based on everything that we've already discussed? And we're going to show a little bit more about that. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about that here in a second as we dive a little bit further in this interview. But like, why do you not sound like the guy you working for? It almost, to me, in my opinion. Now, Elon Musk has been taking credit for this whole USAID shutdown. he's been taking credit for basically seeing how foreign aid has been being spent, and he's taking credit for the rolling back of that foreign spending. Based off of what I'm listening to with Marco Rubio in his interview, it sounds like it was actually Marco Rubio's idea, which is why Trump actually put it in his hands to deal with it. Because Marco Rubio sounds like a reasonable person who's not going on Twitter and pushing for or complaining about anti-apartheid policy. But Elon Musk loves to pretend as if he's the guy, so everybody's letting him have it. So we're going to go a little bit more into this interview and listen to another part that I felt like was pretty interesting.
Russia, with China, with Iran. If you try to sort of bully these stronger nations in this way, it's not going to go very well. Is that a fair point?
Well, we're not interested in bullying.
Oh yeah, that was it.
Terms that President Trump's loves is reciprocity. And it's very simple, but I think people would understand it. If you charge us a 50% tariff for an American product to enter your country, we should charge you a 50% tariff here. Maybe 55, President Trump likes to have leverage too. And who would not argue that that's not fair? And how can you argue against it? But that's been our policy in many cases. In country after country around the world, we have no access to their markets, but their products have open and free access to ours.
So now this is where you gotta maybe we'll see that he's actually doing more research to figure this out. Why do we not have access to their markets? Because we've been sanctioning them or their allies. And we, for example, when it comes to food, a lot of our companies don't have access to their markets because our fucking food is poison. Why would they allow that in their country? Some of the products that we send are poison. They're poisonous. Where we're not sending poison policies, we're sanctioning them in other ways. Or we're sanctioning their allies in a way that it makes it harder for them to do business with their allies, which of course leads to higher prices in their country and a negative economic impact. So that's where you gotta take a step back and observe, which once again, in all fairness to Rubio at this point, it sounds like he's going to be willing to step back and do so.
How can that continue? That's absurd. I think anybody who has common sense would argue that. Frankly, I think a lot of these leaders have been wondering why it took us so long to figure that out. But under President Trump, they know we have.
The New York Times said, okay.
Also, I want to point out really quick how smart and strategic he's speaking right now. You see how he keeps stroking Trump's ego so that he doesn't seem like he's stepping on his toes. He's making it seem like, yeah, this is all Trump's idea. This is Trump's foreign policy approach. But like we all know, because we've been listening and paying attention, this has not been Trump's foreign policy approach. He's been the opposite of all this. He's been on some shit lately, this whole last 2 weeks, really. So, but he's being very strategic and he's not stepping on Trump's toes in this interview. It's once again, this is the news. This is the breaking news. I don't know what the hell, who this guy is, but it don't sound like Marco Rubio.
You guys got away with this with Colombia, but you're not going to be able to pull that trick with Russia, with China, with Iran. If you try to sort of bully these stronger nations in this way, it's not going to go very well. Is that a fair point?
Well, we're not interested in bullying anybody, and we don't feel like we bullied Colombia. We feel like we had a deal. Colombia signed a deal. They signed a piece of paper that said, yes, send us these airplanes. And then halfway into the flight, they broke it. And so our answer was, well, now we flew these planes. We had to bring them back to the United States. So now you're going to come pick them up. Why are we going to pay for those flights? Because you canceled them. It's not bullying. It's they broke a contract that we had made with them. Obviously, look, China has nuclear weapons. They're tough people. There's no doubt about it. They're tough people. They have nuclear weapons. They're a great power with a large economy. They're going to be a global power, but it can't come at our expense. And so ultimately, when you're dealing with great powers like China, it's going to be at the highest levels of their president and ours, or their premier and ours, and our president. And that interaction will happen. In the case of Russia, the same. Obviously, there's going to be, whatever happens with Russia will be a Putin-Trump dynamic. But I think most certainly, sure. I mean, the world is the way you treat, not the way you treat countries, but the way you approach a nation has to be based on the strategic balance. But I don't view that we bullied Colombia, nor do I think these articles about, oh, they're going to turn to China. That's absurd. That's an absurd argument. I think the overwhelming majority of people in Colombia, a country I know very well, don't even like their president.
Must be real, my guy. You stop doing that. Rubio, just because you're fucking a Cuban expat, basically, doesn't mean you know every Latino in every country, bro. Like, I don't know why I even have to say that, but he pulls that shit a lot. Him and Ted Cruz. It's a country I know very well. Why? Because you speak Spanish and your last name is Rubio? Boy, stop. Man, or probably because he tried to help overthrow the government, so I guess he would know enough about that.
President. I mean, this guy had an election today, he would lose. Well, he'd lose. I mean, he's unpopular in Colombia. I mean, that's not up to us. People there will get to vote and they'll decide who they want to lead them.
You see what I'm talking about? Where's Marco? That's up to the people of Colombia. I mean, yeah, that's true. But since when? I mean, do y'all see what I'm saying? He can have his opinion about the president. He can say whatever he says about how he feels people support him. But the caveat after, well, yeah, but either way, that's up to the people of Colombia to decide. It's not for us to decide. Whoa, what? That's a weird caveat to say. To make it known that you are going to stay out of their business in that regard is very un-Marco Rubio-like. And once again, it seems to be the opposite of how Trump is going about his business, at least rhetorically speaking. Where is Marco Rubio? You don't never miss. Marco Rubio, guys, doesn't ever miss an opportunity to try and overthrow a government in Central South America. Never, guys. And in that situation, normally, what he would make the comments that he made about how he feels about the president, and if he feels like they broke their contract, and I'm not sure what exactly happened there, because I knew that there was a deal that was made, and it looked like that Colombia had actually gotten a big victory, making sure that the Colombians were being sent back in a dignified fashion, that they weren't being abused, and that nobody got lost in transit, because y'all know how that goes with ICE. So I don't know what happened there, but even still, if he's going to make a negative comment about a country with a leftist president, generally speaking, he's not in a rush. He's not pressed to make a comment to say, but look, man, we're going to let the people decide how that turns out. We're going to let the people decide the outcome of that election. He don't ever do that. He says, we're going to do what we're going to do what we got to do. That's usually what he says. Look, man, I'm going to let it cook for a little bit more. I just need y'all to make sure I'm not crazy, guys, because I was totally caught off guard by this interview. It's super reasonable, incoherent. And I'm convinced he's
But I think a lot of their people in their business class are like, what's this guy doing? This is absurd. I mean, it's normal that we were deporting people to Colombia just like we deport people to every country in the world. And by the way, if they're illegal American immigrants in another country, we would have to accept them coming this way.
Right.
So I don't pay a lot of attention. Most of the people, unfortunately, that opine on the more I have been delved into foreign policy and the more I read people who claim to know about foreign policy, the more I realize that a lot of the people we believe are experts have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah. Did he just say a lie right there? I don't think so. I think that he just said exactly what we be saying all the time. The people who claim to be experts have no idea. I know this might seem crazy, but do y'all think that Marco Rubio is actually just, I mean, I know he was not the smartest guy in the world, but I assume that he was actually, was more or less intelligent and was purposely allowing himself to be used because it was convenient for him, in the same way that a lot of these people allow themselves to be used. Could it be that this whole time Marco Rubio was actually an idiot who actually believed the foreign policy experts and he thought that they were being genuine in trying to serve the interests of the United States? Do you think that he believed that when he was engaging in all these attempts to overthrow governments in Central South America? Because that's what it sounded like. The way he said that, he believed that shit, what he just said right now, y'all. He believed that. I'm at a loss for words because I agree with them. The majority of U.S. foreign policy experts, Matt does, Bernie, you need to get rid of that motherfucker. But the majority of foreign policy experts actually don't know about foreign policy. And it's like I just said a few minutes ago, I said, is when he got this job, did he like just sit down and start actually studying U.S. foreign policy, like, but not at a superficial level, right? Because you have to, when you are a senator or a congressperson, you have a certain level of a certain level of dedication and focus on your particular committee, and then even within that, you have another level of focus on legislation that you're working on or what you've been assigned to work on by your party. And then, of course, you got your staff that is probably doing the majority of that work for you, especially somebody like Marco Rubio, who's probably spending most of his time in good old sunshine in Florida. Okay, so that Secretary of State, he's getting information and doing deep dives that he's never had to do before. And I feel like he's accidentally being woken up to the reality of what's happening around. Like, before, the way he would talk about China, it was like, man, who the fuck cares about China? But we can do what we want to. I don't care about Russia. We got the money. We got the power. We're the ones in charge. Actually, so it's actually a multipolar world. Do y'all understand how big of a deal that is? The fact that he said the us being the singular superpower after World War II is an anomaly that will never happen again. And we are living in a multipolar world, and we have to to lead that way or behave that way going forward, or we're going to pay the price. I don't know a politician who has served or is serving in Washington, and I damn sure don't know one that is a part of this administration who has been openly willing to admit that. Because that would admit that that's like giving legitimacy to BRICS, right? That's giving a legitimacy to what Putin has said. That's giving legitimacy to what Xi Jinping has said. And other world leaders, the leaders that we have considered, the United States at least, has considered to be adversarial. The leaders that they have tried to pretend are economically and militarily irrelevant. They know they're not, but they've tried to pretend that way. Or they've been trying to pretend that they are to maintain the illusion that the United States is the singular power that is still in control. Marco Rubio is basically coming out and saying, yeah, I don't know who keeps telling you that's bullshit. I got the receipts. We are not the superpower anymore. That is not some small statement that he made, guys. That is not a small statement. It is not insignificant. Body double. I don't know. He got to be cloned. Or God forbid, he did some research for once.
There's a large delta. What about, you mentioned China. Did you recently have a call with the foreign minister? And there was a report that you received a sort of warning that you needed to basically watch
somebody
yourself.
told me that, and that's so two things that the game that they play. Number one is they put out an English translation and they put out a Chinese translation, and they don't always overlap. The call was very straightforward, and I basically said, you're acting in the best interest of China. We're going to act in the best interest of America. We're two.
First of all, so he almost, I don't know if y'all caught that. He said they always, because he was about to try and say, like, oh, it's Chinese propaganda. He was going to try to do that. And he was like, oh, hold on. Double back. No, it could be a mistranslation. Did y'all catch that? Look.
You received a sort of warning that you needed to basically watch
somebody
yourself.
told me that, and that's so two things that the game that they play. Number one is they put out an English translation and they put out a Chinese translation, and they don't always overlap. The call was very straightforward, and I basically said, you're acting in the best interest of China. We're going to act in the best interest of America. We're two great powers, and in areas where we can work together, there's probably no problem in the world we couldn't solve working together. In areas where we have disagreements, we have a responsibility to manage it so it doesn't escalate into something catastrophic. But be clear that we're going to do these things. I did not, at least the translator that was on the call, did not say anything to me that I felt was over the top. But then they put out these games. They like to play these games. They put out these translations where it says one thing in English and then it's translated in a different, they use a different term in Mandarin. So he was warned not to overstep himself. They never said that. And if they had, I would have told them, well, I would say the same to you. Don't overstep either. And but that didn't happen, at least not on the call, or at least maybe their interpreter didn't want to interpret it that way. But that was not the readout we got. But it's silly and and irrelevant. What really matters is the decisions we make moving forward. And, you know, China wants to be the most powerful country in the world, and they want to do so at our expense. And that's not in our national interest. And we're going to address it. We don't want a war over it, but we're going to address it.
Well, that.
Yeah, once again, super reasonable response. Like she gave him an opening. Like, yeah, man, somebody said that they was out there testing your gangster, man. Somebody said that you ain't really like that. Man, you can't believe everything you hear on TV, bro. Like, maybe it was like a mistranslation. Somebody said this and then somebody said that. Nah, man. But based off of our understanding, we knew what we were trying to say. And that's what's most important. And what also was most important is how we behave with the and interact going forward. That's all I'm concerned with. The drama, the he say, she say, I'm not here for it. I'm here for actions. And he is correct. I want to be clear about that. China is definitely trying to be the strongest superpower in the world, and they are trying. They don't give a damn if they got to do so at the U.S.'s expense, and probably for good reason. And I'm not surprised that the U.S. would respond in kind. Now, if the U.S. wants to actually, if they want to be the strongest superpower in the world, not just in name only, you need to do what China has done, which is start addressing the economics at home. Because that is when and how the United States become the strongest superpower in the world. When you had the strongest middle class, that is how you dominate. When people don't have to worry about how they're going to pay for their insulin, where their food is going to come from, when they're not overworked and underserved. Like, it's okay to acknowledge that China wants to be the strongest superpower in the world. It's also okay to acknowledge that it makes sense that the United States will want to remain the strongest superpower in the world and act in their best interest. But he is correct in the sense that there shouldn't be a war over it. And that is largely the burden of the United States to bear. Because if there is a war started because of that, it would be because the United States starts it. And I think that was what he was kind of referring to. Like, look, cool, they got to do what they got to do. We're going to do what we got to do. But what we're not going to do is start letting off shots. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, who is this guy? That is the conclusion. Who is this man? Listen, so we're gonna compare what he's been on. So let's just look at something that Trump said recently. This is about Israel, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a small country in terms of land. See this pen, this wonderful pen? My desk is the Middle East. And this pen, the top of the pen, that's Israel. That's not good, right? You know, that's a pretty big difference. I use that as an analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually.
I use that analogy. It's pretty accurate, actually. Yeah. Drax has y'all see. I'm assuming the majority of y'all have seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3 whenever Drax uses an analogy or the metaphor. I can't remember which one. Oh yeah, there was an analogy. He used an analogy that Mantis gave him. And then he was like, wow, Peter was like, I didn't know that you were capable of analogy. He's like, what? I know lots of analogies, Quill. Analogies, metaphors, etc. That's analogy, man. It's pretty accurate, to be honest. If your analogy is accurate, first of all, you don't got to tell people that it's accurate.
Pretty small piece of land. And it's amazing that they've been able to do what they've been able to do when you think about it. It's a lot of good, smart brain power.
Just because y'all
but it is a very small piece of land, no question about it.
So this was in response to Israel's actions regarding confiscation, the outright theft of land in not only Gaza, but what they're doing in the West Bank and their intentions on grabbing more land in Lebanon and even what they've already grabbed in Syria. So he's like, yeah, man, for sure. We're cool with them taking more land, even if that could actually end up being against the interests of the American people. Because we know that despite what Israel would have you believe, the majority of what they've done actually has acted against the interests of both Europe and the United States. I don't give a damn what nobody says. Just look at all the turmoil that's happening in both of those areas. The immigration problems that we see are because of who? Like as far as the Arab, the Desi, the Persian population, even in Africa. Israel has been involved in Africa. So the massive immigration and the conflict that has come because of it is largely because of Israel. The wars that we fought in the Middle East, the lives that have been lost in the Middle East have largely been on Israel's behalf. And instead, I don't, now, don't get me twisted. I'm pretty sure Marco Rubio would likely justify in some way, form, or fashion whatever Israel does. But I'm just giving an example of how this, because this isn't the only thing that Trump has been on some, like, whatever Israel does, we're cool with it, even if it hurts America's interests. Whatever, we're going to talk about South Africa. We're going to get involved in South Africa. Marco Rubio is talking about how we have to do whatever we can to prevent military conflict, while Trump and Elon are threatening to send troops to Greenland. People. Right? Okay, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if these two are on the same page necessarily. I think in some ways they are on the same page, but I do think that where they are on the same page, it's actually not them being on the same page. It's Trump basically outsourcing certain foreign policy issues directly to Marco Rubio because he doesn't know what's going on. And it's kind of, that's Trump. So he's like, hey, man, you deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I think that's basically what's been happening. Even with that China, he's like, I had a call with the foreign minister of China. Trump and China they be going back and forth with the rhetoric, guys. But Marco Rubio is like, look, man, hey, man, we're just trying to. Y'all want to be the powerful? We gonna compete. Okay, cool. We can competition is okay, but we gotta do so legitimately, and we gotta do so avoiding war. That is not the shit that Trump be on. We all know that. That's not even what Biden be on. Trump out here threatening to sanction South Africa with what money? I don't know, because South Africa already came out and said we don't need your money, so I don't know. And y'all don't give us money like that. So I don't know why you thought that was a good idea, but okay. Like, guys, who is this man? Where is Marco Rubio at? I don't want to have, like, don't give me false hope, guys. It's been a hard goddamn 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And if, I'm only 30. This is my last December I turned 30 again for the 6th time. So, I'm only 30 years old. So if you've been alive longer than that, it's been a long, long few decades. I don't want to have no false hope that we're going to have somebody with common sense at the State Department. We've never in my lifetime had someone with a remote, we've never had anyone remotely coherent, remotely reserved, remotely democratic as the head of the State Department. In my lifetime, and go ahead and add another 30 years on there, and we still haven't had someone remotely democratic as State Department head. Like, do y'all understand? And this is probably like the wildest statement that I might make probably until tomorrow, depending on what, because this is the Trump administration, so you never know. But guys, based off of that interview alone, and what we've seen from Marco, reserving, we're not giving foreign aid to a motherfucking soul for the next 90 days. So we figure out who the hell is getting our money and what we're spending it on. Like, okay, I'm kind of full. I'm cool with that. Like, cool, bet. All right. We need to stop that shit. Like, Marco Rubio is he the most sane, not shitty State Department head that we've had in my lifetime? Is that what's happening right now? What kind of bizarro world are we living in? Where the Republican Department of State, ladies and gentlemen, is the rational mind trying to diplomatically work things out with China. Where the Republican Department of State is saying, yeah, I might disagree with the government, but hey, that's for the people to decide. I'm not about to get involved. If they want to get him out, they'll get him out. If he had election day, he would lose. But hey, that's for them to decide. What? Y'all know how crazy that is? It's a little sad. It's scary because that means that our Secretary of States have been absolutely horrendous. But I'm almost okay. Once again, this is based off his interview and some of the things that have happened in the last few days. Okay, the last few days. I'm almost liking him better as Secretary of State than I'm liking like the potential of Tulsi being DNI. Now, if Tulsi is actually opens herself up to allow information to flow to her and accept the truth for what it is, like Marco Rubio is apparently being able to do, then we could actually see some crazy shit happen in the next 4 years, regardless of the stupidity from Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who can't put his fucking phone down for lack of attention. Like, if Marco can actually sit down with Tulsi and they can have a genuine conversation without her bias against Muslims and Arabs, like, and if we could somehow, which is probably the hardest part, if we could somehow tell Bibi, because so the here's a good thing, Bibi Netanyahu, we don't know what's going to happen with him, because you got to remember, he's in the middle of a corruption hearing. We don't know what's going to happen with him. He could be out of the picture soon. And Israel they're trying to find their own way to restore some level of stability within the country, which could put a little, it's not going to end the genocide, but it's going to stall a little bit, because they're trying to figure out how they're going to proceed going forward post Bibi, because they're imploding. For those of you who don't know, Israel is imploding right now. Bibi got people walking out on him like they got their own shit to deal with. So if we could keep Israel out of our business and Rubio continues this level of approach, and once again, in Tulsi does not remain gullible and, to be quite frank, Islamophobic, I feel like they could actually work together to not be shitty, to like maybe not have us involved in a war, because it's like World War III, maybe not. Like, that's a possibility, guys. Like, I mean, if Marco Rubio could change, not even change, because it's like I said, I don't know if you call it change or educate himself, because it sounds like it just sounds, the way that he's like, man, I just learned that, like, some foreign policy experts have never actually been fucking foreign policy experts. They're all idiots. Most of them have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm figuring that out right now because he has access to information he's never had before. And now his job is on the line, right? He doesn't want his legacy to be he's always been concerned about his legacy. Marco Rubio has. That's obvious, I feel like. This is the first. As State Department, I've always said, State Department, at least officially, is probably the second most powerful position in the world, but in reality, it's probably the most powerful position in the world, because you control U.S. foreign policy to a degree that the president is not always involved in. And they're confiding in you more because the president still has to worry about domestic policy in a way the State Department doesn't have to worry about that. But as the person who's in charge of U.S. foreign policy, in a lot of ways, you control the outcome of domestic policy through international relationships, or through fostering international relationships and diplomacy. So, like, this is kind of crazy, y'all. Like, we already heard what there was a little bit too late for that, but we're supposed to be pulling out of Syria, supposedly. I'm sure that ICE is going to find their way there somehow if it already hasn't happened, but supposedly we're going to pull out of Syria. We're engaging in diplomacy with China now. Apparently some tariffs that Trump had I'm about to boost some tariffs. Apparently he actually just backtracked. And that seems to be because of Marco Rubio, some of those tariffs. Marco Rubio isn't making dumbass statements about South Africa. He's out here and he's not threatening governments to overthrow them. He's mentioned multiple times during this interview, we don't need to go to war, y'all. We need to not be at war. We need to not go to war. And then Marco Rubio has also acknowledged the fact that we now live in a multipolar world, which means that he is already operating at a level separate from almost 99% of Washington, D.C. The simple acknowledgement of that means that you're strategically ahead of 99% of politicians in Washington, D.C. people. I feel like that's not an insane statement. Marco Rubio, guys. And this is not necessarily elogiating Marco Rubio as much as it is indictment of leftists or people who claim to be leftists. Marco Rubio is ahead of Bernie right now. He is ahead of Ilhan Omar. He is ahead of AOC. He has advanced his understanding of where we are as a country in respect to the rest of the world than everyone who claims to be leftist and claims to be a foreign policy expert who's worked on these intelligence committees. Do you understand? That is significant, guys. That is significant. So does that mean now that we will see people like Bernie Sanders maybe step their game up? Do you think that could potentially happen? I don't know. We're in uncharted territory here, guys. Didn't expect the best goddamn State Department head in my generation to be a fucking Republican who was a neocon. Now I'm kind of confused as to why they think, I'm like, damn, bro, y'all barely passed RFK 14 to 13. And everybody was just, yep, sure, Marco Rubio. But now I'm thinking like, shit, y'all let this man be the State Department head. The neocons of the Republican Party and the neocons of the Democratic Party let this guy who's like, yeah, man, we should definitely negotiate and engage in diplomacy with China more than anything. We should not be going to war. Bruh, I need to check we need to check these damn these arms stocks. These arms, cause these weapons manufacturers, I know they was not happy listening to that interview, guys. There's no way. Given what we're seeing now with Ukraine, I gotta assume now that a lot of that is because of Marco Rubio, because Trump is kind of like about Ukraine, but 90-day freeze, and now we don't have to guess whether or not that 90-day freeze impacted Ukraine, because sometimes they'll lie and say like, oh yeah, no, it impacted them, but not. No, they came out and started begging for money. Zelensky did an interview saying like, oh man, we don't got no more money, dog. Help us out. So no, he really did take that money from these motherfuckers. That really happened. So now, what is going to be the excuse for the progressives who have an opportunity to work alongside Marco Rubio and help further the United States status in a positive, diplomatic way in this new multipolar world that Marco Rubio, of all people, finally admits that we are living in? Man, I don't know what the hell going on. This is, what a time to be alive, guys. What a damn time. Hold up, real quick. Let's check out this damn interview. Speaking of, not interview, excuse me, this commercial. Ugh. Oops. We almost done, y'all. Stick with me here. Like this video.
I hate you because we're from different neighborhoods. I hate you because we're from different neighborhoods.
I hate you because you look different.
I hate you because I don't understand you.
I hate you because people I know hate you.
I hate you because I think you hate me.
Because I need someone to blame.
Because you talk different.
Because you act different.
Because you're just different. Man, I hate that things are so bad that we have to do a commercial about it.
Me too.
Paid for by Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism. Stand up to all hate. Yeah, I would like to believe that y'all want to stand up to all hate, except for when we try to stand up to, I don't know, fucking genocide, which I feel like for more or less could be I feel like that could be codified as hatred, right? Like killing people because they're sitting on land and they're not Israeli and they're Palestinian specifically. I feel like that's codified as hatred. So y'all mean all hatred? Really? Come on, guys. Come on. Now, in case you're curious, I'm just going to go ahead and answer the question for you. Snoop Dogg has not commented at all on the genocide that's been happening in Gaza. So, he's like, oh man, they say I hate that things are so bad we got to do a commercial about it. You didn't think that things were bad whenever the genocide going on? Y'all didn't want to do a commercial about the genocide? What Snoop Dogg been selling out, guys. Like, yeah, we're all aware of it. Snoop Dogg has been, it's a sad world we live in, bro, because Snoop Dogg was known as like a rebel for so long, even in the rap industry. And to be quite frank, he, along with Wiz Khalifa, are largely responsible for weed culture and, you know, just the furthering of the marijuana industry, like, because they popularized it, you know, and when something becomes mainstream popular, right? That's how laws get passed. So whatever, cool. Credit to that, to for him to help with the get rid of this demonization of marijuana. Whatever, cool. Yeah, but like, bro, come on, dog. You ain't got nothing to say about genocide. Tom, I know Robert Kraft done indoctrinated your ass, so which is once again sad. I'm a big ass Tom Brady fan, but dog, this is like, I want to say it's innocent, like, but come on, bro. Because y'all haven't said anything about the genocide, I can't be like this is innocent. Y'all knew what the hell y'all was doing. Y'all knew who y'all were doing it for, bro. Like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather not even shy about it, which that's Floyd Money Mayweather. He'll do whatever the fuck he got to get money. And he's not gonna let nobody stop him from getting it. So that's not even surprising. But this is sad, bro. Y'all didn't even need to do this commercial. Neither of those guys need money. None of them. Why did they do it? Because they were told to. That's why they did it. And to be frank, as far as Snoop Dogg is concerned, I'm not exactly sure or unsure how many Diddy parties he may or may not have been filmed at. So that probably explains that. I'm being completely honest. Tom Brady, you know, I feel like he was genuinely indoctrinated into this idea of Israel being a victim, which is silly, obviously. But come on, guys. Really? Like, if you things are so bad, bro. Stop all hate. Okay, so like we don't like genocide. Can y'all stop hating Palestinians so much that you're okay with them being massacred? Whoa! Banned, suspended, anti-Semitic, fired. Get him out of Congress. Come on, bro. For real. They don't want to stop all hate. And to be quite frank, there's a level of racism within the Israeli community against black Israelis and black Jewish people that rarely gets discussed, even though it's so rampant in the community. Right? People don't know that, but yeah, that's a thing. Once again, they literally sterilize African, specifically Ethiopian Israelis so that they couldn't have more kids because they were worried about the demographic shift. But I thought Jewish people were Jewish people. Yeah, except for the black ones. Hell, even Palestinians who convert to Judaism, even they get treated like shit. I know at one point they had a separate ID card, even if they lived in Israel and were Jewish and were considered quote unquote Israeli. So like, you know, that doesn't get discussed though, right? Stop all I hate my ass. I got one more story for you that I think is pretty interesting. There was a huge debate recently on social media amongst leftist circles, specifically on Instagram and TikTok, because China passed or they banned OnlyFans. And I actually felt like, and I'll explain why in a second, I felt like China had liberty to do so. Now, I'm a leftist. I generally believed in freedom, but I also believe that legitimate freedom comes with legitimate choice. And I feel like under a capitalist system, which the United States is, there is no such thing as freedom of choice. There's only the illusion of choice, which I'll get to in a second. So when China initiated the ban, there were some leftists that were like, good, we don't want women to be exploited by, in order we want people to be encouraged to allow them to be exploited because of a lack of opportunities that are limited by a capitalist system, right? So if there was a ban in China, for example, and they were trying to protect their women, they can do that because their women have genuine opportunity. women in the United States, it gets to a point where you're like, motherfucker, I don't really know if I'm ever going to be able to survive in this capitalist system, following the rules effectively, following the status quo. So I had to be part of this system to help break the status quo. But we all know the adult content industry is predatory in nature, and there are long-term impacts, like all facets of capitalism. There are long-term psychological impacts that really question the value you actually are getting, even if you do manage to become rich one day. And that's not the majority of OnlyFans people. But even if you do manage to become rich one day, there is a long-term impact that you have to consider. So, but China actually ended up reversing the ban. So OnlyFans, an online platform this is Newsweek, OnlyFans, an online platform widely recognized for its adult content, is now accessible in China after years of being blocked. Newsweek confirmed the subscription-based platform's accessibility on the Chinese internet. According to the GreatFire.org, a site that monitors and assists users in bypassing China's so-called Great Firewall, OnlyFans has been continuously accessible since November 29th. Records show intermittent access on 20 random days since July 2020. Netizens on Chinese social media began commenting last week that they could visit OnlyFans directly without relying on virtual private networks or VPNs, which are typically required to access blocked foreign sites like Facebook. Chinese users reacted energetically on social media, with some influencers announcing plans to create OnlyFans accounts and inviting followers to join them on the platform. Many heralded the site as a potential boost to the youth employment rate, which is taking a hit amid China's post-pandemic economic slowdown. The National Bureau of Statistics reported 17.6% unemployment rate in September among those aged 16 to 24. This could raise the employment rate and broaden the career options for college students, one user remarked. I don't really know how I feel about that, but okay. Another quipped is to revitalize the economy and let us make money from foreigners. That seems a little bit more accurate. Others joked that the move might be a desperate attempt to boost China's declining birth rate. That actually doesn't make sense. But some netizens suggest OnlyFans could serve as an outlet for pent-up stress. It can alleviate sexual repression, release social pressure, and reduce friction and conflict. But not all the reactions were positive. One Weibo user criticized the many thirsty men who appear to be excited by the news. Another warned that despite easier access, creating adult content could lead to severe legal consequences. Whoever dares to make money on it will be judged severely, they wrote, which is true in China. That would definitely happen. I hear both sides of the argument. I hear the pro-bodily autonomy argument. I understand the anti-capitalism, anti-sexual exploitation argument. I actually I get both of them. I really do. I understand why China banned OnlyFans to begin with. There is a cultural, they are very strict culturally. They like to make sure that the West, and to be frank, the West is pretty, what's the word? There's a lot of that shit that go on in the West, guys. There's a lot of stuff that we got to admit are not necessarily a good influence, nor does it help the development, and it does not help positively develop the youth of our country, nor does it set them up with the mentality for success, which is why the algorithms on TikTok, for example, in China are completely different than the algorithms in the US, which are seemingly meant to dumb people down, right? That is all connected to culture. And China wants to help facilitate a culture and create a culture that will ultimately serve the greater good of China. Cool. Now, the reason they have more liberty to do that and why their government gets more support from the people when it comes to stuff like that, even though there are some, obviously they're going to be critics and criticism from within the country, but they have that liberty because they don't have a bunch of people sleeping on the streets in tents. Even if the Chinese government or the Chinese people have a criticism of China, Their criticism of China isn't that they're worried that the Chinese government is doing something that doesn't benefit the Chinese people. It's like, we don't like it. We wish they would go about it differently. But like with the United States, everything is within the capitalist system. Is you're worried that it's predatory in nature and it has zero to do with genuine freedom, but only the perception that you are free to do or engage in something that can lead to someone else becoming rich. You get what I'm saying? Like, we got to think. There are some people. There are some people who become wealthy off of OnlyFans and they have their success stories, but that's also a short-term phenomenon. We don't know how long. Like, we don't know. OnlyFans, relatively speaking, is kind of in its infancy to some degree. We don't know what the long-term impact is going to be, but we do know we have stories about the long-term impact of the adult film industry. Right? Now, there's the other part of that is OnlyFans helps alleviate some of the negative exploitation of the adult film industry, because like the big production companies were screwing over some of the adult film workers, and now OnlyFans gives that power back to those who chose to engage in that. Okay, cool. So that's a positive. You don't want to, if you're going to do it anyway, and it's better for you to have control over that. But the reality is, bodily autonomy is not the same argument as a free market. You can do whatever the hell you want to in the privacy of your own home, but the moment I can't walk out naked on the street. You get what I'm saying? Like, there are rules that have been put in place by society and social contract that we are asked to follow that are meant to protect us. Like, there shouldn't be little kids looking at grown people on the street buck ass naked. And the moment you open your market to OnlyFans, in China's case, you are basically allowing that. You are setting up the stage to allow that to happen. And no, as much as we don't want to admit like that's part of it, like, yeah, you're allowing your culture to be affected. And you are allowing the selling of a dream effectively. But I believe in freedom. So, and for the most part, I really don't. I feel like everybody should be allowed to access whatever website they should be. Excuse me, any website that is made that is not obviously criminal in nature, they should be allowed to have access to that website. However, that also comes with the caveat. Like, I don't believe in illusion of opportunity, and I do believe that has to be acknowledged. I do believe that the majority of women, if they felt in the United States at least, or in most capitalist societies, if they felt that opportunity was genuinely offered to them, that they had the same equitable opportunity to gain wealth, to be independent, to not have to work themselves to the bone, they wouldn't engage in the social risk that comes with OnlyFans. And not everybody does the most extreme thing you can think of on OnlyFans. So let's be clear about that, right? Some of the stuff that you see on OnlyFans, you can see worse on Twitter. So let's be clear about that. But I'm just saying, like, we're going to go to the most extreme here because that's what people mostly think of when it comes to OnlyFans. I personally believe that the reason that China had the liberty to block without many complaints, they had the liberty to block OnlyFans without the majority of the country complaining about it, is because most women aren't even thinking about making adult content like that. Or most young women aren't thinking, because they're like, I have opportunity. Why do I need to do that? Like, I'm not worried about how I'm going to put food on the table. If I want to live by myself, I can. Right? I don't have to rely on a man. I could, but I don't have to. I have opportunity. And that's not necessarily the case in the United States for a myriad of reasons. So I do believe in freedom, generally speaking, but I do believe that, once again, I can't necessarily fault China for blocking them. And I understand also if they chose to unblock it, like, that's also their choice. Because maybe they feel like there won't be a massive migration of women that weren't engaging in it that all of a sudden will engage in it. Like, they don't see, they did a cost benefit analysis, like, yeah, it's not going to really hurt anybody at this point. But it's because they have a society where women do not feel like they are being cheated out of access to opportunity. Whereas in our society, women feel like a lot of women feel like in order for me to have access to opportunity, my body must be involved. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference. Chinese women don't have to live in a world like that. The majority of them don't have to live in a world like that. And it's a good thing. And we should strive while I do believe in the freedom of access to that type of stuff. But I mean, you shouldn't be watching porn because that it's toxic. It'll burn it'll rot your brain. Don't do it, y'all. Especially young men out there, y'all just go get personality skills, get personal skills, interpersonal skills and go talk to people. Please, for the love of God, do not rely on porn. Do not do it. I've seen people basically destroy their relationships because of that shit. Don't do it. I know I always say, like, with the caveat, okay, I'm the person that never needed it because I've kind of just been able to, if I need to get with somebody, I can. That's a blessing. I understand that's not how the world works for the majority of men, but I promise you'll have more satisfaction and more self-fulfillment if you just focus on yourself, better your interpersonal skills, and find somebody you have a genuine connection with, because porn will rot your fucking brain. So let me just go ahead and put that disclaimer out. And with that being said, I believe in freedom of access, but with that freedom, we do have to acknowledge that there is an exploitative nature to OnlyFans. And even if it doesn't seem like it's exploitative, that's kind of how the majority of capitalism in the United States works. A lot of capitalism doesn't seem exploitative at first. Even there are some people who make decent money, right? Like you can make $100,000 a year, but you working 60 hours a week. And then they take 38% of that money. So like, is it really worth it? No. But if you're making $100,000 a year, how is that exploitative? Motherfucker, you seen interest rates? You seen my credit card? You seen the fact that my property taxes are going up every year and I have no control over it? I can't control the housing market. I can't control interest rates. I can only control so much about my life. Because if I have a life, if I have a life at all, like other than just one that revolves around me and me alone, I am taxed on it. So yeah, still exploitative. Just because you're making some decent money does not mean you're still not being exploited, but it can seem like you're not being exploited at first. That is how capitalism has generally tended to work. So yeah, that's how I feel about that story. It was, hold up, what you said Florida banned all adult content sites? Is that why all of them are leaving? Is that why all the OnlyFans girls? I've noticed on Instagram a lot of the OnlyFans girls have left Florida and started going to they moved to Texas. A lot of them moved to Austin. Is that why? I didn't know. I honestly didn't know that. That's crazy. If that's really what happened, that would make sense, I guess. But Florida, that's a weird place for them to blame. Shit, in Florida, you don't gotta go to no goddamn website. Explicit content. That's for damn sure. Just walk outside, you be all right. Any website that has porn in it is automatically flagged or banned in Florida. Wow, I did not know that. Did not know that. They do know Israelis are the ones who own Pornhub, right? Somebody told them that, and they still allowed that to happen. Wow, that's a deviation from the norm. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of For the People podcast. Make sure you like this video. Like. Share. Subscribe to me on Telegram to get content updates, breaking news updates, all that good stuff. You can support the show by becoming a subscriber, obviously, through super chats, etc. All those links are in the description in the video. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. I'm going to try to live stream tomorrow, but I think I'm supposed to be going on Revolutionary Blackout Network tomorrow, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. We might do a cross stream. But check out my hotspot video that I did yesterday and the one that's coming and dropping today. And once again, subscribe. You know, it's about that time of year where YouTube is trying to kill us. I get like 7,000 followers, and then like Twitter takes away 7,001. It's about that time of year, guys. So make sure y'all subscribe, support us on Patreon, support us on TikTok. You know, now that y'all back on My Americans, we almost lost you there, but glad to have you back. Subscribe on Instagram if you're watching there. And Hotspot. Don't forget to follow Hotspot. Don't forget to follow Hotspot on X. And where else we at? Well, we're not on Instagram anymore. They banned us off of Instagram. They banned us off of TikTok. So I think right now we're only available on X. They banned us off of YouTube too on the same day. So right now, go follow us on X. We just hit 30,000. Yeah. Took forever, but we just hit 30,000 after they were keeping us at 29,000 for like 3 months for some reason. So go follow us on X there at Hotspot, at Hotspot, all one word. Okay? Like video, share this video. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.